Survival is not a hopeful endeavor. It is a brutal mathematical calculation. When the collapse settles and the sweep teams move through the urban sprawl, you must strip away the illusion of safety. The old world is over, and the margin of error is zero. Do not mistake a house-by-house search for a police procedural. It is a biological algorithm driven by calorie bankruptcy. The aggressor is an organism operating on a deficit, seeking to acquire resources with minimal energy expenditure. Every door kicked, every room cleared, and every cabinet opened costs them finite glucose. Your survival depends entirely on hard logic and physics, specifically the physics of energy conservation. You must engineer a scenario where the caloric cost of discovering you exceeds the potential reward of the loot drop. The searcher scans for the obvious threats, the kill mechanism zones like doorways and main halls. They are subject to crowd psychology and fatigue. They will not look up, they will not crawl, and they will not dismantle architecture unless given a specific reason. If you hide in a location that requires a screwdriver or a contortionist's flexibility to access, you are statistically invisible. You must stop thinking like a homeowner protecting property and start thinking like a parasite inhabiting a host. We will replace confident mistakes with operational principles, utilizing the architectural blind spots that exist in every modern structure. You are no longer a person. You are a void in their scanning pattern. You must begin by understanding that modern architecture is built on a lie of uniformity. Builders and engineers prioritize standardization, creating a predictable grid of right angles and logical voids that the human brain learns to ignore. This is your tactical advantage. To survive the sweep, you must occupy the phantom volume, the space that physics dictates exists, but the observer's mind deletes to conserve cognitive energy. We start with the thermal and acoustic fortress of the HVAC false return. In a post-collapse environment, advanced sweep teams may utilize thermal imaging, converting your body heat into a kill mechanism. Standard walls glow. Your body heat transfers through drywall like a beacon. However, the intake plenum of a central air system is lined with R8, or higher fiberglass insulation designed to trap heat. By entering the return vent, specifically the dead space located between the intake grill and the actual filter housing, you place a thermal shield between you and the scanner. You are not just hiding behind a grate, you are inserting yourself into a physics-based blind spot. The acoustic decoupling properties of the insulation also dampen the sound of your breathing, adhering to the multiplier rule, where one defensive layer serves two distinct protective functions. You must ensure the fan unit is disabled, or the pressure differential will suffocate you. This is a calculation of hard logic. The risk of asphyxiation versus the certainty of execution. Moving beyond the mechanical, we exploit the biological failure of human perception through the geometric anomaly. The human brain, under the stress of a combat sweep, does not scan every inch of a room. It relies on pattern recognition to auto-complete reality. When a searcher enters a room, their brain registers a box with 4 corners. If you build a false wall that cuts off 3 feet of a room's depth, creating a slightly smaller box, the exhausted mind of the aggressor will accept the new geometry as absolute. They will not pull out a tape measure. They are operating on calorie bankruptcy and the urge to move to the next loot drop. You construct this anomaly in the dead corner of a room, the corner furthest from the door that creates a natural shadow. By framing a false partition identical to the existing walls, matching paint, baseboards, and scuff marks, you create a void space. This is not about hiding behind a curtain. It is about altering the physical reality of the structure. The searcher looks right at your wall and sees only the boundary of the room, not the 24 inches of depth you occupy behind it. This technique requires zero margin of error in construction. A gap in the trim or a mismatch in paint texture destroys the illusion, turning your sanctuary into a coffin. You must become a master of the mundane, ensuring that your survival architecture is as boring and invisible as the drywall that surrounds it. You must now strip away your dignity to embrace infrastructure parasitism. While the amateur fortifies the living room, a fatal tactical error, the strategist crawls into the veins of the building. We begin with Hideout 3, the plumbing chase, often referred to in construction as the wet wall. In standard residential architecture, bathtubs and shower units are not flush against the structural framing. They are offset to accommodate the P-trap and supply lines. This creates a linear void, typically 12 to 18 inches deep, running vertically through the structure. To access this, you do not enter through the bathroom, which is a high probability search zone. You enter through the opposing wall, usually located in a closet or adjacent bedroom. By cutting a discrete hatch between the studs, you can slide into the cavity behind the tub. The tub itself, often made of cast iron or thick fiberglass, acts as a ballistic shield, applying the multiplier rule where one asset provides both concealment and cover. However, hard logic dictates that this environment is hostile. It is a biological hazard zone. You are sharing space with condensation and potential sewage leaks. The acoustics are treacherous. Copper and PVC pipes are excellent conductors of sound. If you cough or shift your weight against a supply line, the physics of vibration will telegraph your position to the entire building. You must insulate yourself from the pipes and maintain absolute stillness. This is not comfort. This is survival in a space designed for water, not biology. From the vertical, we descend to the horizontal with Hideout 4, the cabinet toe kick void. This technique exploits a specific psychological blind spot, floor-level blindness. When a sweep team breaches a perimeter, their eyes are locked on the kill mechanism zones, chest height and head height, where a weapon would be positioned. They do not look at their feet unless they trip. Standard kitchen-base cabinets are elevated on a 4-inch platform called a sub-base. The cabinet floor you place your dishes on is actually a false bottom. Beneath that shelf lies a massive dark volume of empty space spanning the entire length of the counter. To utilize this, you must modify the cabinet floor to lift out from the inside, or create a removable kick plate on the exterior that is visually seamless. This hideout relies heavily on the aggressor's calorie bankruptcy. To visually inspect this void, a searcher must physically drop to a prone position on a dirty kitchen floor, press their face against the wood, and shine a light into a narrow crack. The biomechanical cost of dropping to a prone position and standing back up, repeated across hundreds of houses, is an energy expenditure the sweep team cannot afford. They will kick the cabinet doors open, see the empty shelves, and register the container as looted. They will not check the void beneath the floorboards because their brain tells them space ends at the shelf. You remain centimeters below their boots, protected by their own fatigue and the zero margin of error that governs their movements. You are effectively utilizing the floor as a shield, hiding in the one place gravity and exhaustion prevent them from checking. We now shift the battlefield from the horizontal plane to the vertical, exploiting the gravity bias inherent in human evolution. Humans are terrestrial organisms. Our threat receptors are calibrated for predators approaching on the ground, not from the sky. This biological hardwiring creates a tactical blind spot above the searcher's eye line. When a sweep team enters a structure, their necks are stiff, their body armor is heavy, and looking directly up exposes the throat, a primal vulnerability they subconsciously avoid. We weaponize this instinct with Hideout 5, the Soffit tunnel. In modern construction, the soffit is the boxed-down section of the ceiling often found above kitchen cabinets or in hallways. Builders construct these merely to conceal a single HVAC duct or drain pipe, yet they frame a volume of empty space that is often 12 to 24 inches high and several feet deep. This is dead space that appears solid to the untrained eye. To inhabit this, you must not create an entry point from the kitchen, which would leave a visible seam in the kill zone. Instead, you access the soffit from the attic space above or through the back of an upper cabinet. Once inside, you are lying in a tunnel that runs parallel to the searcher's head. You are utilizing hard logic. The searchers operating on calorie bankruptcy. To check a soffit, they must fetch a ladder, climb it, and destroy the drywall with a sledgehammer. The caloric cost is massive. The probability of a loot drop is 0. Therefore, the searcher's brain classifies the soffit as structural and ignores it. You are safe because you are inconvenient. For those in high-density urban environments, we must address the most dangerous yet statistically secure location. Hideout 6. The elevator counterweight buffer. This protocol carries a 0 margin of error. If you fail here, the physics of the building will execute you. The elevator shaft is a vertical highway that search teams fear. It is dark, greasy, and induces vertigo. When they clear a shaft, they force the doors open, shine a light down to the car, and leave. They do not look behind the mechanisms. The counterweight, the heavy mass that balances the elevator car, runs on its own set of rails against the shaft wall. Between these rails and the wall, there is often a maintenance buffer or a structural recess. By locking the elevator car on a lower floor and accessing the shaft from above, you can secure yourself into the guideway bracing or the counterweight frame itself, provided the system is mechanically locked out. You must become a gray man of the industrial world. You cover yourself in grease and dust. If a light sweeps over you, you must not reflect it. You must look like a piece of machinery. The searcher is looking for organic shapes, skin, fabric, movement. They are not analyzing the mechanical logic of the counterweight assembly. Their reliance on crowd psychology reinforces this. No one would hide in the death trap. By occupying the space that triggers their fear response, you ensure they disengage and move on to easier targets. You are not hiding in a room. You are hiding in a hazard. We now arrive at the final and most sophisticated layer of concealment, psychological camouflage. While the previous protocols relied on architectural manipulation, Hideout 7, the looted debris pile, relies entirely on hacking the aggressor's dopamine reward cycle. In a post-collapse environment, the searcher is not just a hunter. They are a scavenger seeking a loot drop. Their brain is wired to scan for value. Pristine boxes, locked doors, and untouched resources. You must exploit this by presenting them with the exact opposite. A visual confirmation of total extraction and waste. You do not build a bunker. You build a ruin. You construct your hideout in the center of a room that appears to have already been ravaged. Pile furniture, torn drywall, rotting mattresses, and trash into a chaotic mound. To the untrained eye, this is refuse. To the strategist using hard logic, this is a fortress. Inside this debris field, you frame a small, reinforced void, a spider hole, using strong furniture or pallets as the skeleton, draped with the refuse to break up the outline. You are applying the gray man concept not to a crowd, but to a static environment. You blend in by becoming the background noise that the brain filters out. This technique weaponizes the concept of calorie bankruptcy. For a search team to check this hideout, they must physically dismantle a heavy, filthy, and potentially hazardous pile of trash. The biological cost of moving a soiled mattress or digging through broken glass is high. The potential caloric reward is zero because the visual narrative of the room screams already looted. The aggressor's brain makes a split-second calculation. Nothing here is worth the infection risk. They will bypass the pile to conserve energy for the next potential loot drop. To ensure this works, you must engage the enemy's sensory rejection mechanisms. Visual camouflage is not enough. You must utilize olfactory camouflage. The smell of rot, ammonia, or waste triggers a primal avoidance response in humans. By carefully applying these scents to the outer layer of your debris pile, while keeping your internal void sealed and breathable, you create a biological force field. The searcher does not just overlook you, they actively recoil from you. This is the ultimate application of crowd psychology applied to the individual. Humans follow the path of least resistance. They will not dig through filth unless they are certain of a reward. By signaling that the old world is over and that this location has nothing left to give, you become invisible. You are safe not because you are hidden behind steel, but because you have made yourself disgusting. You have successfully engineered a scenario where the searcher's own survival instincts to avoid disease and conserve energy work in your favor. Concealment is not a permanent state. It is a pause in the violence. Eventually, the law of probability dictates that a searcher will stumble, a sensor will ping, or a dog will bark. At that moment, you must instantly transition from a static void to a kinetic threat. This is the action protocol. If your perimeter is breached, you do not negotiate. You activate the kill mechanism. You are fighting from a position of disadvantage, trapped in a box, so your violence must be overwhelming and immediate. You do not aim to wound. You aim to delete the threat so you can escape the kill zone. However, the superior strategist never engages unless forced. Your primary objective is to remain a ghost. If you hear the sweep team approaching and your primary hideout feels compromised, you must have an exit strategy that does not require passing through the main choke points. You do not defend the fortress, you abandon the shell. The old world is over, and with it the emotional attachment to home. Your shelter is a tool, not a sanctuary. If it burns, you move. If it is discovered, you discard it. Remember, survival is a brutal mathematical calculation. You are pitting your hard logic against their calorie bankruptcy. Every time they search a house and find nothing, they get weaker. Every time you remain invisible, you get stronger. You are not a victim waiting to be found. You are an anomaly in their data, a ghost haunting the ruins of a civilization that failed. The margin of error is zero. Stay hidden, stay cold,